had a crown right now, I do have a crown, actually.
You do have a crown.
I do have a crown. Jackie
gave you a crown.
Wait a minute. Jackie, I am wearing this crown on your behalf to stand out on a team that's this talented and find ways unselfishly to impact the game. Jackie, keep doing you, boo. Hello, basketball fans, and welcome to your favorite WNBA show, Around the Rim. Terrika and I are excited to bring you yet another episode this WNBA season. We hope you've been tapping into previous YouTube shows on the ESPN YouTube page. If not, go back, watch, catch up. A lot to talk about. The season's still young, so we're going to preface this conversation with that because we're actually going to get into talking about way too early MVPs. But there are some performances that are worthy of this conversation early. So we just want to give some love to those that are getting it done, T, on the court. You know what I'm saying? Because there's some folks that's out here putting some big numbers up.
Yeah, it's been real interesting this season, honestly, because I think we all knew certain people were going to step up this year. But I'm like, okay, y'all are showing out and we're only 2 weeks into this season. So this MVP conversation and end of the year awards are going to be real tight if everything holds true as they look right now.
Yes. So let's start out. We're going to go with Captain Obvious right now, in my opinion. There are a couple of names that I think are kind of obvious. And the first one is Brianna Stewart. Stewie put everyone on the map, 45 points against the Indiana Fever in her Barclays debut. Just ridiculous. And did it in 3 quarters. And there are a couple things that Stewie did in those first 3 games that are historic and that I want to put out here. She was the 3rd player in WNBA history to average at least 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 50% shooting through their first 3 games of the season. She joins Maya Moore and Lisa Leslie. Both of those players went on to win the MVP those seasons that they started out that way. And then Stewie also, keep in mind, led the WNBA in scoring last season and was top 10 in steals and rebounds. So Stewie's been doing this. She has her 3rd highest points per game through the first 6 seasons of her WNBA career of any player in the history of this league. So she's already like out there in terms of scoring. But right now the numbers are 26 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting 54% from the field, 44% from the 3-point line, just going crazy. And so I think that's kind of the obvious choice right now. If someone was like, all right, close your eyes, who's the MVP? It would have to be Breanna Stewart, in my opinion.
Yeah, Stewie is definitely, I think, someone who is leading the way in that conversation. And just, her overall presence is just really crazy. Even in that matchup against Seattle, they welcomed her home. But listen, she was accustomed to playing in that building and she acted like it, right? And so yeah. I think it's definitely interesting to see if Stewie continues to keep this up. And it's not even a matter of being able to keep up the numbers and keep up the play, but I still want to see how her play elevates or stays pretty much the same once Jonquel Jones starts to get more involved into the offense for New York and starts to get a little bit more ball touches and starts to feel a little bit more healthy. I want to see how her play acclimates to that. But at the end of the day, girl, like, I feel like you're right. That's Captain Obvious.
Well, and the hope is not that Stewie would have to continue to do this, right? And this are the numbers I was actually looking for. In the Connecticut game, she became the 4th player in WNBA history to record at least 20 points, 5 steals, and 4 blocks in a game, joining Tamika Catchings, Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops. I put that out there to say she's not just playing the offensive end of the floor. She's also playing great defense too. Also, she became the first player in WNBA history to record at least 40 points and 10 rebounds and 5 3-pointers in a regulation game. So anyway, when I think about an MVP, my mind already goes to, what are you doing historically? Like, what are you doing that stands out in the history of performances of games? So that is where I think she's getting some separation. But who stands out to you right now, T, in the way too early MVP conversation?
Okay, so I do not want you guys to call me a homer because I am not saying this person just because they play for the Connecticut Sun. I promise.
I was going to say, where's my Sun t-shirt? Let me go grab that thing right now.
I legitimately think Alyssa Thomas has a case this year for the MVP conversation. Before I even get into the numbers, let's just look at the fact that, one, she's the first player to ever record 2 triple doubles in the WNBA finals, right? So she carried that momentum over into this year and has already started this year off with ridiculous stat sheet stuffers, okay? Just to give you a little insight on her, she has had her 26th career game with at least 10 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. That's second in the W outside of Candace Parker. So you clearly are in great company. On top of that, she's someone who knows how to impact the game outside of being on the offensive end. You can put Alyssa Thomas everywhere and anywhere on that team, and she continues to drive it. She continues to motivate it. She continues to stuff the stat sheet in rebounds and assists. You never know how she is going to dominate you from day in to day out, from game in to game out. And I think she's someone who this team truly has rallied around when we come to that core, that 3 veterans that Connecticut wanted to like run this offense through and that Stephanie wanted to hold her hat on. She's 4-1 for a reason, right? And so for me, Alyssa Thomas, this is a perfect opportunity for her to continue to prove that she's a star player in this league, that she will get it done defensively. And I think she's going to stand out in that MVP conversation for sure.
But the conversation I think we really need to start having around Alyssa Thomas is, why is she often left out? And if we're being honest, there is a lot of chatter around the way Alyssa Thomas plays the game. Now, you can love it, you can hate it, you can blame it on the officials for not regulating it, but a lot of people see her as a dirty player. And I believe that that's what keeps her out of these conversations. I don't think it's right to deem a player as a dirty player. I think there are dirty plays, like plays where you like, okay, come on, right? And that could be said about a number of players. I just think Alyssa Thomas has more of those moments of than most people. But I don't think that's necessarily fair to keep her out of the conversation. It's up to the officials to regulate that. It's up to this league to regulate that. She should be penalized, whether it's a flagrant or game suspension or whatever, under the guise of the actual rules. But I used to experience this back when Angel McCoughtry played, because people would keep Angel McCoughtry off of certain lists because they didn't like the way she played. They felt like she was selfish. She throws up too many shots. She doesn't involve her teammates. But at the end of the day, like stone cold, like when it came to her effectiveness between the lines, one of the best scorers we've ever seen in the game. So it is something we need to talk about more. Is like, why and how does character, or I don't know if you perceive it as like the way somebody plays the game, should they be penalized in these conversations?
I think you bring up a great point. And what's crazy about it is I think if you ask certain people, certain players, that's going to be their go-to. But the truth is, and I believe this is just what I believe. I don't believe at all that Alyssa is a dirty player. Like, she just doesn't exude that character. She plays physical. She plays physical.
Yeah. Basketball. Did you see that black eye Stewie got? Woo!
Seriously. And Stewie was cool about it too, right? She was real cool about it. Like, I'm good.
We all knew when we found out but listen, be honest. We all knew when we found out she got a black eye against the sun. We was like, Alyssa.
I was watching it. I was like, yep, that's AT was guarding you. That it is what it is. But at any rate, though, I think you make a really great point that sometimes character plays into these. But I really hope that, to our point that we make all the time about really getting to know players, really telling their stories, really covering them, you would know that Alyssa is a physical player, but I don't ever think that she goes out with the intent to harm or hurt another one of the athletes in the WNBA.
No, I don't either. I don't think she purposely tries to hurt people, but yeah, there's definitely a conversation that needs to be had. All right. So another way too early MVP is one that people don't probably expect that I'm about to be bringing up, in particular because of the team she plays on, and that's Jackie Young for the Las Vegas Aces. Jackie is so undervalued, right? And I get it. There's a lot of stars on that team. There's a lot of players that talk more than she does. You've got Asia Wilson, who's a bona fide star, face of the league, all those things. You've got Kelsey Plum, who had an incredible season last year. All these pieces, right? Chelsea Gray, unreal. But Jackie gets lost in all of that. And so I love it for Jackie that in all these conversations we're having about all of the pieces the Aces have and Candace Parker coming in, all this, Jackie's like, listen, I'm about to come in here and just get down to business. She's averaging 23 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting 62% from the field, 56%, 7% from the 3-point line. Like, this is getting ridiculous. And that doesn't even speak to the defensive impact that she has, the effort plays she makes. Like, when you look at Jackie's career, and she won Most Improved Player last year, very definitely deserved it. But she often talks about the changes she's made to her shot, right? And I've posted about it. You can see the changes in the shot mechanics and things like that. But she has gotten in the gym and worked hard. It is extremely hard in this league, especially playing a perimeter position, to shoot this efficiently from the floor, to have a 30-point game that early in the season, off a lot of effort plays. And so I just want to give a shout out to Jackie. I got to come up with some kind of name for this award, but if I had a crown right now, I do have a crown, actually.
You do have a crown.
I do have a crown. Jackie
gave you a crown.
Wait a minute.
Yes, go get the crown. Oh, yes, this is perfect, because at the W Summit, Sid definitely gave you a crown. There you go.
Hold on. Jackie, I am wearing this crown on your behalf because you deserve, okay, all the flowers, the crown, all of that. Listen, to stand out on a team that's this talented and find ways unselfishly to impact the game, Jackie, keep doing you, boo.
Keep doing you. I don't even have nothing to add, to be honest, because you really nailed it. I do remember hearing Carolyn Peck say on the broadcast that Becky Hammond had to tell her, okay, you're in the gym too much, go home. You need to save some of this for the season. So you summed it up perfectly. She really worked on getting better, being better. And it's another reason why, and we'll save this conversation for another day, but it's another reason why I said this super team is just unfair, because you're already there. It's just unfair. But let's talk about Point Guard University, Notre Dame, because that's what it is. Point Guard University. Shout out to Dolores on Twitter. I stole it from you, boo, because Jackie Young, we even though she's not in the league right now, we always give love to Skylar Dickens-Smith. She's out on maternity leave. But Arike Ngumbawale, ma'am, it's
in the bag. She's so deep in the bag. We can't.
It's really ridiculous in these streets how Arike has really came out this season. And she said this, right? So during the Final Four, I had the pleasure of sitting by Arike for almost every game, and just the way that she views the game, the way that she can see the game, can see the floor, just being near her, to hear her and see her just watch a game from her lens already let me know that she understands this game differently, and she shows it on the floor. She scored 20 points in 4 straight games to start this season. She's the first player with 20 plus points in 4 straight games to start a season since Benijah Laney did it in 2021. She's already scored 101 points in her first 4 games, which puts her passing herself for doing that already. So you are on the record book twice, sis.
When you're competing against yourself,
you were literally competing against yourself.
Yeah.
She's on a new level. And I, again, was one who was, I want to say critical, because I really wasn't critical of Dallas, but I was just unsure. I was unsure because every year I come into the season and I say, Dallas really has some great pieces, but what are they going to do with them? And I feel like this year they are really showing out and showing up. Adding Satu Sabali, who is a healthy Satu, is dangerous out here. Natasha Howard provides so much down low and experience. It is really scary hours in Dallas right now, and Arike is leading the way. And it really doesn't surprise me whatsoever. What surprises me most is the fact that she hasn't really and truly been an MVP candidate previously. But this year it's very hard to not put her in that category, even this early on in the season.
I'm with you. And here's what it comes down to for Arike. I agree with you on Dallas. We won't have time to get into them in today's show, but next week we are definitely talking about them, because as you know, I've been kind of on them from day one. I think there's something special happening there. Shout out to Kalani Brown, who picked up a contract. But when it comes down to Arike and you start to look at MVP, it's always going to be how efficient can she be, right, in her scoring, and how well does she perform on the defensive end. Again, that is for me. Those are two areas. This league is so good that you definitely have to find those little nuances in how you're separating your MVP votes. For me, it had always been, I can see what you're scoring, but how efficiently are you doing it? And then what do you look like on the defensive end? Because it's a game that's 94 feet. Yep. Sorry, boo. It's not a half court. It's not only about what you do on offense. For me, it's always been that way. That's why when we get into the GO conversation, my conversation always starts with Cheryl Swoops, 3-time MVP, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, Tamika Catchings, 5-time Defensive Player of the Year. Like, you have to be able to impact both ends of the court to be in the MVP conversation. So can Arike, I'm not saying she got to jump out and lead the league in steals or any of that, but can she raise the bar for her team, which I'm already seeing her up pressing? Like, Coach Trammell, this is her identity. So Arike is already adding that layer to her game. If she can keep that consistent, she's going to be there. She's going to be there.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, we're sorry we just have a short show this week, but we do have to depart at this time. Please drop your early MVP votes in the comments. Hit us on @AroundTheRimPod on Twitter. Are we still there? Oh, we're at Around the Rim.
We just at Around the Rim now. We have stepped our game up, y'all. We are a big girl show.
Hit us at Around the Rim on Twitter, because now we're a show. We're no longer a podcast. But let us know if poke the holes in our argument for early MVP. Tell us who your early MVP votes are. Terrika is at @SheKnowsSports_. I am at LaChina Robinson. Anything else, T?
The fact that it's been 2 years and you still don't know my Twitter handle, ain't no more underscore. It's just sports.
It's just at @SheKnowsSports. I know. It's
y'all see how she loves me for real.
After 6 years, it just rolls off the tongue. Okay, at @SheKnowsSports, no underscore. My bad. But we'll see y'all next week though.
Peace out.